If you're into technology, smartphones generally, this is going to be one of the most exciting smartphones you're going to see in 2018. It's the Vivo Nex, and if you've not heard of Vivo, they're a Chinese smartphone brand, and this is their first sort of big push internationally, and they're doing it with a really cool smartphone. See from the back here, fairly ordinary, nice and minimalist. It's when you turn it over that things get really interesting. Just look at that screen. Not only is it enormous, it's 6.6 inches, there's minimal bezels, this is 91% screen to body ratio, so it's absolutely gigantic. There's also no sensors, there's no camera, there's no speaker, nothing at all, there's not even a fingerprint sensor. All of these things are still here, they're just hidden, making the Vivo Nex extremely futuristic. So you probably already noticed that little fingerprint icon there. That is for your fingerprint sensor. It's in display, something we've seen and heard a lot about, but actually not seen in that many smartphones as yet. Vivo actually pioneered the technique in one of their early concepts and in their later concepts, and actually released a phone in China with the feature, but this is the first time we're really seeing it in a smartphone that we'd want to buy internationally. So where's the camera at the front, you're asking? After all, we've seen the dual lenses on the rear. Well, that's the Vivo Nex's big party trick. We'll open the camera here and we'll swap to the selfie cam, and there it is. It motorizes out of the top of the phone. So let's just see that again, and it disappears. From the rear, we'll just make sure we activate that, and you can see it just pop out of the top. There's even a little insignia on there showing you how it exits the phone. When we put that away, you can see at the top here, there's nothing there. This is completely smooth. There's a little icon on there that shows you that this is the camera lens, but you'd never ever know it was there. And it's a really great way of getting around the fact that the Vivo Nex has got this enormous screen. It doesn't either put the camera down here like Xiaomi did with the Mi Mix, or get rid of it entirely, which would be sort of unforgivable. Instead, it looks at a really cool, interesting and fun way to get round modern issues with smartphone design. You can see that again for the speed. We activate the selfie cam. You're waiting a short time, but really it's hardly anything. So it's not as if you're going to have to wait around for this to appear. We think that's fantastic, and no matter how many times we see it, we just want to do it again. And pretty much everyone we've shown it to has been similarly impressed. It's one of those features that makes you smile. That's a 5 megapixel camera on the front, and on the rear you've got dual lenses, a 12 megapixel and a 5 megapixel. And the performance is actually superb. We're really surprised given the relatively modest specs by today's standards. The camera is a real standout on the Vivo Nex. While we're round here, try and take a look at the design on the back. You can probably see here, there's this slightly pixelated look. You have to get quite close to the body to see it. And in the right light, it catches it and it gives this sort of rainbow effect, and it looks absolutely stunning. For a minimalist phone, Vivo's really thought about the way that this device looks. It looks and it feels premium. This is glass. It weighs 200 grams, so it's a bit of a monster. But as you can see, still it fits very nicely in the hand, and you just never tire of looking at this gorgeous screen. Now, you've probably seen there that the fingerprint sensor did not work instantly. We've not had too many issues with that. It's the way I'm holding it for shooting it on film here. It's been solidly reliable, and we'd say similarly reliable to a regular fingerprint sensor. It does take a little bit of a knack though. You don't need to push the sensor too hard. A soft touch is all that's needed to get it to activate. While the Vivo Nex uses Android, it uses a Chinese version of Android. In other words, it didn't come with Play Store and all of the rest of Google services installed. We had to put those in separately, and it was a real pain. If you don't do that, you're limited to the Vivo App Store and all of Vivo's apps within there. And unless you can read Chinese, you're going to be out of luck with using them. The software is actually the worst part of the Vivo Nex. FunTouch, as Vivo calls their third-party Android interface, is not much fun at all. It's slightly confusing. It's very different to regular Android. You can see there's no Android buttons down here. It's a swipe system. So you swipe up from this side to bring up this control center. You swipe down to find your notifications. You swipe in the middle to go back to home, or swipe up and you'll find your open apps. Swipe this side and you go back. You can see that again just there. Or if we go into here and then swipe up to go into there, or swipe up simply to go back. It's fine, but it's just not really intuitive as we're used to with regular Android. We've been spoiled ultimately where we don't have to deal with phones that don't come with Google services, but you're going to have to do that if you're in China, and that's why it's slightly different. You can't buy this phone in the US or in Europe yet. In theory, you're going to be able to in the future, but for now it's an import-only device. That means you are probably going to have to fiddle around installing Google services yourself. Should you want to do this? And we're very much in two minds whether you should, because the Nex is such a beautiful phone. And there are elements of it that we absolutely love. The camera is great, the design is great, the screen is stunning, and we like the fingerprint sensor for the most part. This is very good, as you saw there. It's extremely easy to use. But the software is a killer, and we don't want to continue using it when it's a pain. We've had performance issues, some apps don't work, some apps won't even install, and we can't upload photos to Google Photos. We can do it manually, but it won't do it automatically. There are compromises to be made if you decide to buy an import Vivo Nex. Hopefully Vivo is going to listen to this and they're going to make a global version with Google Play services installed, so that we'll actually be able to get the best out of this beautiful next generation smartphone. That is the Vivo Nex, and even if we don't like the software, it's a glimpse of the smartphone future.